Number 10, St. George's Church. Kicking off our spooky list, we're gonna head to the Czech Republic. St. George's Church was originally built way back in 1352. That's a long time ago. And it's seen many dark days, of course. The building itself was destroyed many times by fires, century after century, yet it somehow survived all of them. One of the worst timed events ever happened in 1968, and this is what makes people think it's haunted. More than fair. The roof partially collapsed during a funeral service, and after that point, everyone was convinced that the church was haunted, and they refused to enter and do any more services inside. More than fair. That's the worst timing ever. I'm thinking of, I Think You Should Leave, Season 2, Coffin Drop. I'm thinking of that sketch right now. That's gonna be in my head all day. The location is still a hotspot. Since 2012, many visitors entered the cursed church. Would you go in? Would you do it? I would, probably. I'd poke my hand in a little, see what happens. I'm terrified of ghosts. I wouldn't go near that. Number 9, Edinburgh Castle. Scotland's capital city. I've been to Scotland a handful of times. It's one of my favorite places to visit. All those pubs, ooh, what a good time. Wish I could remember. It's got a castle, I've heard. You got a castle over there. Apparently, Edinburgh Castle, I of course have to visit every time I go. It's a calf workout that I look forward to, personally. Now, some of these parts in the castle are chilling, because it's, it's freezing cold in Scotland, but sometimes you can feel the haunt in the air. These rooms date back to more than 900 years ago, so these walls have seen a few fortnights. Sightings are pretty popular. Sightings of a colonial prisoner from the American Revolutionary War, that's pretty common, so that's terrifying to hear. And as well as French prisoners from the 7 Years' War. You're just gonna see ghosts of prisoners that might pop up or photobomb you. That's really, I'm terrified talking about this. If you're thinking about visiting, perhaps the ghost of the wandering dog in the castle cemetery will convince you to buy a ticket. I love Scotland, it's beautiful. The air just smells nice. Got a big old hill too. Number 8, Almadam. Almadam is about 40 miles southeast of Dubai. This ghost village was built back in the 1970s and it was deserted shortly after. It's beautiful, but legend has it the land is full of shape-shifting spirits, you may have heard of them, called jinns. Now these spirits are responsible for scaring folks away from the town. Yeah, that ought to do it. Now it's tough to tell whether the spirits have since departed. I mean, that would be ideal, but Almadam still looks haunted and it still is abandoned, so yeah, my vote is probably still haunted. Dunes that partially swallow rows of houses and a mosque, it all just sits there stuck in history. Now these spirits are still living in the 70s, so who knows? This is their home, not ours, so let's just leave this one alone. It looks like something out of Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, you know what I mean? All the sand, just barren. It's haunting, so jarring to look at. Or that one level from Mario Odyssey that's just, sand and nothing else. Number 7, Gunnuhver Iceland. This one has heavy history behind it. Holy smokes. Now, sometimes places are haunted by multiple ghosts, past prisoners, while others have, just one up story. Iceland's Gunnuhver mud pool. Perhaps you visited. It sounds kind of, nice when I say it out loud. It's one of the largest and haunted. Apparently, the pool was named after Gunna, a woman who lived in this area of the peninsula 400 years ago. Sadly, Gunna passed away of starvation, but her spirit apparently came back home and killed the current landlord and his wife. It was terrifying. That's a big yikes. The town called in a priest to take care of that issue, but of course, some visitors today claim to see that same ghost of one Gunna around the very same boiling hot mud pool. One Gunna sounds like a rapper. I don't know why I said that. Ghost or no ghost, I'm not going anywhere. This sounds like an expensive hazard to be near. Anything boiling or muddy? I'm like, no, that's a hazard. That's hot. Number 6, RMS Queen Mary. Heading over to the beautiful Long Beach, California. Here we go. I'll tell you right now, I would never spend a night in this hotel. Nope. I would rather sleep in Stephen King's 1408 hotel room than this RMS Queen Mary situation. During World War II, the ship was in operation briefly, and then it served as a luxury ocean liner from 1936 to 1967. Now, during this time, a killing happened. A sailor was also crushed by a door, very tragic, and a couple people had drowned in the pool. So it's a lot of bad stuff going on here. It's like the back of a DVD of Ghost Ship. You're like, what am I reading? This is terrifying. Cut to 1967, Long Beach purchased that ship and turned it into a hotel, a flotel, dare I say, where now it still sits today. Would you visit here? Would you spend the night in this haunted Titanic? Let alone, I wouldn't even step a foot on the boat, no way. Boats scare me in general, let alone ghosts on a boat. Number 5, haunted ballroom. This one I would for sure check out. I would definitely moonwalk in a haunted ballroom. Are you kidding me? This is like the first 8 minutes of that Thriller music video. This house, if you want to call it that, this mansion slash castle, was built between 1871 and 1887 for New Zealand politician William Larnach. And like every other Disney castle, you need to have a 3,000 square foot ballroom. Yeah, no friends required, just here's the big ballroom, good luck. Larnach gave his 21-year-old daughter a ballroom for her birthday. Yeah, here you go, Kate, now go make thousands of friends. Good luck. Would you want a ballroom, like as a gift? That feels like the worst gift ever. What happened to ponies, Dad? Jeez. Kate sadly passed away at age 26 due to typhoid cancer, but death does not get in the way for Kate. No, the spirit of the youngin' is still said to haunt the ballroom and still dance around. So, beautiful on one hand, so terrifying on the other. A haunted ballroom ghost? That's the scariest movie I can imagine. Number 4, the Snedeker House. This is a classic Ed and Lorraine Warren ghost story. They have a few out there, probably too many, but we'll see. It was the main inspiration, believe it or not, to The Haunting in Connecticut. We've seen that movie. It's a classic. It's a good banger right there. Ed and Lorraine got a call from the owners in real life of the home saying that their son was experiencing personality changes. Now at first, maybe you'd laugh at that call. Maybe he's just growing up. Maybe he's a bit moody, whatever. Now this was not the case at all. He wasn't just a moody teen growing up, you know, shut up, Dad. That wasn't that here. These changes were violent in nature, and on top of that, a pretty obvious other issue, they were seeing apparitions in their home. Son's acting odd, and we also have ghosts, so Ed and Lorraine were of course interested. Why not? Old house in Southington, Connecticut. Alan and Carmen Snedeker then found these tools, old tools used by morticians in their house. Yeah, their home was once a funeral parlor. Fun fact to find out after you've moved in, I guess. That's the worst thing to find out. One day when Carmen was mopping the floor, it apparently turned blood red and began to smell foul. So Ed and Lorraine came to one conclusion, and that was demons. The house was full of them. Yeah, that ought to do it. You start mopping, all of a sudden there's blood everywhere. You're like, well, that's it. It's your home now. Enjoy. Let it dry, and then, yeah, pine sols in the cupboard. Brick legs. Number 3. 455A Sackett Street. Not to be confused with 221B Baker Street, that's where Sherlock Holmes lives. 455A Sackett Street is a haunted apartment in Brooklyn. Yeah, it's not very majestic, not a lot of eyeglasses. Imagine moving to the big city, a big city that's known for being loud, and on top of that, now you have ghosts. Good luck getting a wink of sleep. One lady who grew up in the apartment experienced these hauntings herself. Apparently fires would start randomly, loud bangs would happen in other rooms, all around just bad energy, which given what I just said seems more than fair. Sightings of apparitions were common, but it was always the same female looking spirit. Number 2, cursed stadium. Can a sports team be cursed? I mean, I live in Toronto, home of the Maple Leafs, so our last win was like 1743, I believe. I don't know. But the Chicago Cubs curse, maybe you've heard of this. That was a huge deal for a very long time. The Chicago Cubs curse comes from 1945, when a man named Bill Sionis, nicknamed Billy Goat, great nickname, he was kicked out of a Chicago Cubs game. He actually didn't even get into the game 4 to begin with. Was he too intoxicated, or did he bring a live goat with him to the game? Yep, the latter. That's why he got kicked out. Bill brought with him his pet goat for good luck. So, you know, after the staff said, of course, no, you can't enter the 1945 World Series with a live goat, get out, he then cursed the club over and over on his way out, saying the Cubs ain't gonna win no more. And that was the game that they dropped the ball, pun intended. The Detroit Tigers won, and the curse of the Billy Goat then kicked off for real. It got so out of hand that come 1994, that long later, the Cubs had lost 12 games in a row, their worst home start in history. So Sam Sionis went to Wrigley Field, everybody was chanting to, you know, finally let the goat in, and then the Cubs won 5-2. So, I don't know. It's kind of proven that there was a little bit of a curse here. Number 1, the Borley Rectory. This house was originally built back in 1862. It was a house built for the rector of Borley, but after a fire in 1939, it was of course never the same. It was finally demolished after 1944, but before its final days, the Daily Mirror printed a lot of history about this house, just working for BuzzFeed back in the 40s. Harry Price, a paranormal researcher at the time, reported sightings of a ghost nun or a ghost car that would often drive by. Both probably so distracting to your day-to-day duties, as well as footsteps and unexplained sounds on the property. It was all deemed haunted. A little piece of the haunted home still sits in the Warren Occult Museum today. It's a brick, a nice haunted brick from the Borley Rectory. The rectory, the Borley, just a haunted brick. Hey, come on up to, hey, line on up around the block to see this haunted brick. Yeah, not bad, right? Check out that ghost brick.
Number 10. Chateau de Montségur, a petite fortress in southern France, sitting atop a 170-meter drive uphill. Its ruins a safe house for once the Cathars. Its nickname? Satan's Synagogue. Described as one of the first Cathar castles and has been listed as a monument historique by the French Ministry of Culture. Cathar from the Greek meaning pure. These people were devout. The stronghold fell after a bloody 10-month siege in 1244 by King Louis IX. The field below is known to have been where over 200 men and women were burned alive for having refused to renounce their faith. On that day, the apparent bonfire that happened sparked a curse from the Cathars. Legends of these ruins say any person who strays off the marked footpaths and loses their footing will drop off every side of the so-called, quote, citadel in the sky. Sounds more like a metaphor to me than a curse, but yeah. Number 9. Guri Amir. Guri Amir is a mausoleum of the Turco-Mongol conqueror Timur in Uzbekistan, an important place in history of Central Asia. The mausoleum has been heavily restored since, but other than tourists and selfies, the people who intend to learn more of its rich history tend to respect its space. Local residents tried to stop the excavations, but the expedition continued. The tomb was opened by Soviet archaeologists in 1941 and was aimed to examine the human remains and family that belonged to Timur himself. On June 20th, the tomb was opened and the air filled with sharp, choking odors of resins, camphor, and frankincense. At first they thought the smell was the sign of a curse. Then they read Timur's tomb. Yeah, a curse. 2 inscribed warnings that read, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble. Whosoever disturbs my tomb will unleash an invader more terrible than I." Yeah, sounds right. Number 8. Kalaupapa. In 1866, during the reign of Kamehameha V, Hawaiian legislature passed a law designing this island the official site for patients affected by leprosy, aka Hansen's disease. About 1,200 families were exiled to quarantine here. At the time, the disease wasn't really understood, believing it to be highly contagious and very incurable. Whisked off and locked away amid paradise in total isolation. No amenities, buildings, or even potable water sources. Known by historians who visit as, quote, the pit of hell itself. And apparently the most cursed place on earth. With its grim history of loneliness, despair, and death, it's not surprising at all that Kalaupapa is also said to be haunted. Yeah, I mean, like, this island was basically a death sentence for those on it. Shackles, cages, caves. Sounds about right to be haunted by the afterlife, doesn't it? Number 7. Beit She'arim. The House of Gates, or Beit She'arim, Israel, is popular for its necropolis, known as Beit She'arim National Park. It's partially an excavated archaeological site consisting of a necropolis of rock-cut tombs. Declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2015, this thing is old. Only a portion has been excavated. A stone book, catacombs, mausoleums, and sarcophagi have all been found riddled in elaborate chiseled and painted symbols and inscriptions in Hebrew and in Greek. It's the most ancient, extensive Jewish cemetery in the world. And of course, haunted and cursed. I mean, why wouldn't it be, right? A hex designed to deter grave robbers is scrawled into the limestone slabs in uneven Greek writing, blood red in paint. It reads, quote, Jacob the proselyte vows to curse anybody who would open this grave. So nobody open it. Number 6. Anjakuni Village. Way up north, a village named after a bountiful, massive freshwater lake in Canada. Nunavut, 1932. A Canadian fur trapper went to the village of Anjakuni Lake. Known for their markets of elaborate fish and extensive winemaking, this village was a staple for most on the map. He arrived and sensed something a little odd. Too quiet and too foggy. He found it to be completely empty and deserted, even though there were signs of life still present. Campfires blazing, pots still boiling, doors were even open and food out waiting to be served, but no people. Thousands of Anjakuni villagers had simply vanished. To this date, there's no proper explanation for this mass disappearance of the people, and the weirdest part, all of the graves in the village cemetery were emptied as well. Even the skeletons from the ground were dug up. Nothing left but a pack of frozen sled dogs. RCMP thinks it was blue lights in the sky. I'm just saying, I didn't say it, they said it, not me. Number 5. The City of Screams. Ah yes, Shar-e-Golgola, the city of screams, top of my trip list. Peaceful once as it was the capital of the Gorid people, until Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire seized it in about the 12th century. Apparently legend goes its ruler, Jalaluddin, fought back and killed Khan's son. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. At first the city held strong but was sold out by the ruler's daughter, who, according to legend, betrayed the castle's secret entrance, sharing and consorting with the enemy. Expecting to be rewarded, of course, her and her people were slaughtered, and the ruins cursed. Russians, Taliban, and Americans have all used these ruins as fighting posts over the years, as this place hasn't even been lived in since. Haunted by its legend of those who still hear the screams of the slain, sighting dark horseback figures and even uniformed specters are seen atop the rubble. Yeah, I'd say we just leave this place alone completely. Just kinda back away slowly in respect, you know? Number 4. Skeleton Lake. Deep within the Himalayas of India lay the bay of an ancient lake, shrouded in an ancient mystery. Rupkund Lake, aka Skeleton Lake, was rediscovered by British forest rangers in around 1942. What they found was jarring. Hundreds of ancient human skeletons found at the edge of the lake. Investigations led some to think that it was a catastrophe of some sort. Nope, just 3 different groups of people died here at different times. But why? Wooden artifacts, iron spearheads, even slippers and jewelry were found by the National Geographic team, who studied 30 skeletons in 2003. Skin still on some of them. 300 people have been found so far. Legend goes, Parvati, a supreme goddess, cursed the kingdom, unleashing drought and disaster upon them. She sent down a blizzard of hail and whirlwind which swept the people into the lake. I'm saying my prayers tonight, yo. I don't want to get like Jack Skellington out of nowhere. That sounds horrifying. Number 3. Karun treasure. If we've learned anything about the famous Howard Carter curse with the excavation in Egypt, we see where this is already going, don't we? The people in Yusuk, Turkey believe that the treasure found here is cursed. Karun treasure is the name given to the collection of 363 valuable Lydian artifacts from the 7th century BC. Also called the Croesus treasure. The treasure included gold and silver, rare Lydian coins, silver vessels, jewelry, even carved marble sphinxes. The discovery in 1966 made those afraid of it may bring upon an ancient curse. Little dynamite and voila, open sesame. 7 men and related violent deaths or great misfortunes. We've learned nothing, haven't we? The treasure was inside the burial chamber of an unknown princess. Yeah, that sounds about right. What do you think? Should we be just mucking around with ancient sites and buried treasure? I'm saying leave it alone, dude. There's a lot of this stuff out there, you know? Number 2. Mainz. Mainz was founded by the Romans in the 1st century BC as a military fortress. Mainz became an important city in the 8th century AD as part of the Holy Roman Empire, and later famous as the birthplace of Johannes Gutenberg, the inventor of the modern printing press. Mainz and its connected Jewish cemetery are both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, because what they found there is pretty eerie. Tons of cursed tablets. The Roman temple of Magna Mater and Isis in Mainz has people puzzled. Thousands of cursed tablets, strips of lead inscribed with requests for divine intervention, then thrown into fiery pits at said temple. In the sanctuary, the mother goddess, Magna Mater, was worshipped according to the inscriptions. The cult of Isis originates from Egypt, while the Mater Magna is a Greek adoption of the goddess. Both cults a long tradition in the Roman Empire. The Isis cult, established under Caligula with military brick stamps found on site, means this place was built on behalf of the emperor for lots of cult practice. And number 1, Mount Ebal. Mount Ebal is one of the 2 mountains in the West Bank territories of Palestine, next to Mount Gerizim. In advance of the Israelites' entry to the Promised Land, Deuteronomy 11:29 records Moses saying, quote, "When the Lord, your God, has brought you into the land which you go to possess, you shall put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal." In Deuteronomy 27, an instruction is given to build an altar on Mount Ebal. When done, split into 2 groups, one on Mount Ebal to pronounce curses, and one on Mount Gerizim to pronounce blessings. Well, discovered in 2019, a teeny tiny tablet was found dating to the Bronze Age. Scott Stripling, Pieter van der Veen, and Professor Galil claim to have found the earliest written examples of God's name as Yahweh. It says, quote, "Cursed, cursed, cursed, cursed by the God Yahweh. You will die cursed. Cursed you will surely die. Cursed, 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 cursed." Alright, we get it.